Chapter 1. The Fleet with No Heartbeats. The Cinderline War had lasted 23 months and 9 days when 3,412 empty ships entered Sable Reach. The Orash opened fire immediately. Captain Elian Okafor watched from the bridge of the hospital carrier Mercy has teeth as the first vessels died. Old transports split beneath pale beams. Decommissioned rescue cutters vanished inside white flashes. Cargo ships burned without anyone aboard to feel the heat. Every vessel transmitted life signs. Heartbeats, respiration, body heat. Fragments of frightened voices, all of it was false. The ships carried no crews, no passengers, no living thing larger than the bacteria in their recycling tanks. Orash stood beside Elian inside a transparent medical support frame. The Orash officer possessed 6 narrow limbs, overlapping white armor and black fluid that moved through clear channels along his neck. He had once directed migration fleets for the enemy. Now he watched his own people attack thousands of ghosts. "They believe the ships are occupied," Orash said. "Yes. The biological signals are crude. They only need to be convincing from a distance. The command traffic contradicts itself. That is deliberate." Orash looked toward Elian. "You constructed an evacuation fleet designed to appear disorganized. We did not have to work very hard. Sable Reach had no active Cinderline beacon, no habitable world, no civilian settlement. A dying white star illuminated the system with cold blue light. Near the star drifted a dead moon called Rill, its surface cracked by ancient mining. A broad wreck belt surrounded it, abandoned refineries, ore haulers, collapsed habitats, and the bones of ships stripped centuries earlier. In the moon's shadow waited Migration Group 7 Blue. 17 Orash vessels, 3,804,112 prisoners, survivors taken from Nemia's crossing and 6 neighboring colonies. The Orash had parked the migration ships behind Rill to conceal them from ordinary scans. Orash's continuity braid had revealed their location. Processing would begin in 2 days. Few aboard the Mercy has teeth knew precisely what processing meant. Orash refused to describe it anywhere children or recently liberated prisoners might hear. One of the prisoners was Elian's younger brother, Elian Okafor. Elian had not seen him in 9 months. He did not know which of the 17 vessels held him. The Orash changed prisoner manifests every 6 hours. Families were divided. Names moved between files until no single record could prove where anyone remained. The system had been designed to prevent rescue. Humanity had answered with 3,412 empty ships. Admiral Selketh Mar appeared on the bridge display. Selketh was Kelari with narrow features and folded flight membranes along his back. He commanded the compact forces hidden behind Rill. His fleet contained 87 warships. The Orash possessed 211. A direct battle would end quickly. Not in the compact's favor. "The enemy has committed 63 vessels to the first decoy wave," Selketh said. "They will commit more," Orash replied. Selketh's eyes narrowed at the Orash officer. "You sound confident." "I designed portions of their targeting doctrine." "That does not comfort me." "It should not." Elian expanded the tactical map. The empty ships approached Sable Reach along 3 routes. The first crossed above the White Star. The second entered from the outer wreck belt. The third descended over Rill's northern pole. Each appeared to be an independent evacuation convoy trying to reach the migration vessels. Each carried false command nodes, medical traffic, distress transmissions, life support failures. The Orash saw thousands of civilians and hundreds of military coordinators. They did not see the real rescue fleet. 72 cutters and boarding craft waited without power inside the wreck belt. Their crews wore cold suits. Their reactors were silent. No network connected them. Compact warships remained behind Rill with engines dark. Even the Mercy has teeth had shut down its central tactical system. Paper maps covered the bridge. Mechanical clocks had been bolted beside every station. The Orash could not corrupt what was not connected. Selketh studied the decoy formations. "How long before they discover the ships are empty?" 18 minutes, Elian said. Orash examined the tactical display. 12. Human planners estimated 18. Human planners have not served inside a correction fleet. Selketh's flight membranes tightened. "You knew this plan was inadequate." "I said it would attract them." "That is not the same as believing it would work." "No." Elian looked toward Orash. "Do you have a better estimate?" 11 minutes now. Another empty transport broke apart. Its false distress call continued transmitting from the debris. Children aboard, life support failing, requesting rescue. The Orash sent 3 more ships toward it. Elian felt no satisfaction. The voices were synthetic, but they sounded real. Engineers had built them from thousands of emergency recordings collected during the war. No individual voice could be identified. Every fear inside them had once belonged to someone. Admiral Selketh watched the Orash formation stretch. They are exposing the migration group. Not enough, Elian said. 90 enemy vessels remained in close formation around the 17 prisoner ships. 9 command frames occupied the center. A larger vessel held position above them. Its black structure formed 3 rotating rings around a pale core. Urin identified it as the Warden Crown. It controls the migration vessels, he said. Life support? Elian asked. Life support, navigation, internal restraints, processing systems. Can your access codes disable it? No. You said you could open the migration ships. I can invalidate local locks. The Warden Crown can restore them. Selketh turned toward the prisoner. You neglected that detail. You did not ask the correct question. The Kalari Admiral's membranes spread. Elian interrupted before the conversation became unproductive. We do not need to control the ships forever. We need them open long enough to board. Then you require the Warden Crown distracted, Urin said. That is what the empty fleet is for. No. Urin looked toward the enemy command vessel. The Warden Crown does not respond to civilians. It responds to deviations in custody. Elian followed his gaze. What kind of deviation? A prisoner ship acting independently. None had. All 17 migration vessels remained motionless behind the moon. Their engines were cold. Their communications were silent. The Orash had removed their crew's ability to control anything beyond local atmosphere. Selketh checked the mechanical clock. 9 minutes. Until verification, Urin said. 8 until the rescue cutters begin moving. Then your cutters will be visible 1 minute before the enemy discovers the decoys. That is the intended margin. It is not a margin. The first empty wave reached the outer Orash formation. The ships did not fire. They possessed no weapons. They continued transmitting frightened lives. The Orash destroyed them in disciplined order. Command ships first, medical vessels second, transports with the highest population readings third. Urin watched the targeting pattern. They have not changed. Good, Elian said. No. The black fluid in Urin's neck accelerated. They have not changed because this is familiar. A new signal appeared among the Orash vessels. Small white objects detached from 6 correction ships. They accelerated toward the nearest decoys. Verification probes, Urin said. Elian checked the clock, 6 minutes earlier than expected. The probes entered the first empty transport. Its false life signs continued. 1 probe crossed the passenger decks. No bodies, no heat, no biological matter. The Orash transmitted a single word. Empty. The enemy formation changed. Warships abandoned the decoy convoys. Correction vessels turned toward the wreck belt. The Warden Crown opened its pale core. Every migration ship activated at once. Elian looked toward Urin. What is it doing? The prisoner's segmented eyes narrowed. Beginning processing. The 17 vessels lit from within. Behind the moon, 3,800,000 people began to die. Chapter 2. The ships nobody chose. The empty fleet had begun with 1 vessel, a hospital transport called Second Morning. Its engines had failed beyond repair after evacuating 9,000 civilians from Vaskir. Compact Command marked the ship for dismantling. The survivors objected. They painted a white broken circle across its hull and sent it to the Terran Reserve Yard instead. When planning began for Migration Group 7 Blue, the Second Morning became the first hull pledged to the operation. Then came freighters from Karad's Rest. Atmospheric carriers damaged above Enhalora. Refugee transports too old to cross another Cinderline route. Lifeboat tenders whose passengers had reached safety years before the war. Each ship had once carried people away from somewhere terrible. Now those people offered the vessels back, not because the ships were worthless, because they had completed 1 rescue and might complete another. The compact contributed hundreds more, Galun ore haulers. Ivara medical barges. Kalari colony transports, Murath construction vessels. No 2 classes shared software. Half no longer possessed software at all. Human engineers installed mechanical clocks, optical star trackers, thermal emitters, independent course motors, false biological signatures. Every vessel received a route that could not be altered after launch. No admiral commanded them. No network connected them. The ships moved because springs unwound, chemical timers burned, and ancient gyroscopes turned toward the stars. The Orash could not jam an order issued 9 days earlier and locked inside a metal box. They could only destroy the vessel carrying it. The enemy began doing exactly that. On the bridge of the Mercy Has Teeth, mechanical alarms sounded as the Warden Crown activated processing protocols. 17 prisoner ships reported atmosphere changes. Temperature fell inside 3. Pressure dropped inside 5. Internal restraint fields intensified throughout the group. Urin moved toward the analog command console. The Warden Crown is forcing biological sorting. What does that mean? Admiral Selketh asked. Children, technical workers, medical organisms, and command personnel will be separated. How? Urin looked toward Elian. By atmosphere. Elian understood. The Orash were changing environmental conditions in different sections. Species able to survive would be forced toward designated compartments. Those who could not would die where they were. How long? Elian asked. First deaths within 4 minutes. Selketh opened the fleet-wide optical channel. Rescue craft launch now. 72 cutters emerged from the wreck belt. Their reactors ignited one at a time. No central signal announced them. Each captain saw the first beacon lamp flash from Rill's surface and made the decision independently. The cutters accelerated toward the migration group. The Orash saw them. Enemy ships abandoned the empty fleet and turned inward. Selketh's warships remained behind the moon. Hold position, Elian said. Selketh stared at him through the display. My cutters will be destroyed. If your warships emerge now, the Orash formation closes around them. They are already closing around the rescue craft. That is why we need the command frames looking outward. Selketh's flight membranes opened halfway. You are asking me to watch civilians die while preserving military surprise. No. Elian pointed toward the migration ships. I am asking you to preserve the only force capable of opening an escape corridor after we reach them. That distinction will not comfort the cutter crews. They already know. The first rescue cutter crossed into Orash range. A pale beam missed it by less than 50 meters. The cutter released reflective foil. The next beam struck the false image. A second cutter lost one engine but continued. A third vanished. No one aboard the bridge spoke. Elian turned toward Urin. Open the migration ships. I require access to the command core. The captured Orash core rested inside a shielded chamber below the bridge. It had survived the destruction of Relay Elian. Urin's continuity braid allowed him to communicate through it, but every connection risked neural damage. Dr. Nethmar had forbidden further use. Elian had disagreed. Neth had threatened to sedate both of them. Urin entered the lower chamber. Elian followed. The command core resembled a hollow white sphere surrounded by black ribs. Manual cables connected it to the carrier's optical transmitters. Urin placed all 6 hands against the ribs. Pale light entered the channels along his neck. His body stiffened. Neth watched from the medical station. Neural load rising. Local locks, Elian said. Urin closed his segmented eyes. The command core transmitted. A narrow signal crossed Sable Reach. The first migration ship rejected its internal restraint code, then the second, then 5 more. Pressure doors opened. Atmosphere controls became accessible from inside. Prisoners moved. Millions of faint life signs shifted through the vessels. The Warden Crown answered. Its pale core brightened. Every lock closed again. Urin cried out and pulled away from the sphere. Black fluid leaked from one channel beneath his jaw. Elian caught him. You said you could invalidate them. I did. They closed. The Warden restored its authority. How long were they open? 11 seconds. Enough for anyone to reach controls. Possibly. Neth pressed a medical seal against Urin's neck. You will not connect again. Urin looked toward the tactical display. One ship altered course. Elian turned. Migration Vessel 12 had moved 3 degrees away from the group. Its engine remained locked. The change came from maneuvering vents. Someone inside had reached a local maintenance system during the 11-second opening. The Warden Crown corrected the vessel's position. Then the ship moved again. A radio signal escaped through a waste control transmitter. Static filled the bridge. A human voice emerged. "This is Migration Vessel 12. Elian froze. He knew the voice. Older, rougher, still his brother S. "This is Elian Okafor of Nemia's Crossing." Elian gripped the console. "Amadi." The transmission continued. "We have partial control of waste venting and 2 pressure doors. Orash machines remain in the command section." A burst of noise interrupted him. Amadi returned. "If the rescue fleet can hear us, do not approach from the sunward side. The warden has gun platforms beneath our hull." Elian opened the transmitter. "Amadi, this is Elian." Silence, then a breath. "Elian." "I'm here." Amadi laughed once. The sound broke into static. "You took your time." Elian closed his eyes. 9 months of absence collapsed into one sentence. "Can you reach navigation?" "No. Life support. Local sections only." "How many with you?" "On this vessel, 217,000. "Casualties?" "Unknown." Amadi's voice became quieter. "They started sorting us." Elian looked toward Urin. The Orash officer did not look away. Amadi continued. "We are moving everyone we can into the freight chambers. The machines have not reached them yet." A pale beam struck near Migration Vessel 12. The ship shook. Amadi's signal weakened. "Elian, the warden is turning something toward us." Urin studied the enemy command vessel. "It is using him." "How?" "Vessel 12 has demonstrated independent control. The Warden Crown will classify it as a custody breach." The migration ship began moving away from the others, not under Amadi's control. The Warden was pushing it into open space, toward the approaching rescue cutters. Selketh understood. "It is bait." "Yes," Urin said. "Enemy ships formed behind Vessel 12. Any cutter attempting to reach Amadi would enter a concentrated firing lane. Amadi saw it too. Elian, do not come straight at us." The rescue craft continued accelerating. The Orash waited. Amadi's voice sharpened. "Did you hear me?" Elian watched his brother's ship drift into the kill zone. He had found Amadi. The enemy had found the one person Elian could not bear to lose. Vessel 12 turned its damaged hull toward the Orash formation. Waste vents opened along its side. Frozen debris spread across enemy targeting sensors. Amadi transmitted one final message. "We are not waiting to be processed." Then Migration Vessel 12 charged the Warden Crown. Chapter 3. The Plan That Failed Twice. Migration Vessel 12 possessed no weapons. Its engines remained locked. Its navigation system obeyed the Warden Crown. Amadi controlled only waste vents, maintenance thrusters, and the movement of mass inside the prisoner decks. It was enough to make the ship difficult. Thousands of prisoners shifted water tanks toward the port side. The vessel rolled. Maintenance crews vented gas from the opposite hull. The nose moved 4 degrees, not toward freedom, toward the Warden Crown. The Orash corrected. Amadi's people shifted the mass again. The migration ship staggered through space like a wounded animal refusing to fall in the expected direction. The Warden Crown pulled harder. Its gravity restraints dragged Vessel 12 back into the firing lane. The real rescue craft approached from the wreck belt. The empty fleet burned across the rest of the system. The Orash now understood that the decoys carried no one. They stopped firing at them. That should have ended the plan. Instead, the empty ships continued. Their clocks did not know they had been discovered. Their star trackers did not feel embarrassment. Their chemical timers did not understand failure. The vessels followed the courses written into them. The first wave crossed above Rill. The second entered the moon's shadow. The third descended toward the migration group. Admiral Selketh watched their approach. "They are blocking our optical view." "Temporarily," Elian said. "They are also blocking firing solutions." "Good. Against us. Against everyone." Urin remained beside the command core. Neth had sealed the leak in his neck, but the black fluid moved unevenly. "The Warden Crown will destroy Vessel 12 before allowing it to reach command range." "How long?" Elian asked. 2 minutes. The nearest rescue cutter was 3 minutes away. Elian opened the rescue channel. "All teams board the nearest migration vessel." Selketh turned toward him. "Vessel 12 contains an active resistance group." "Yes." "It is the only ship helping us." "Yes." Then it should receive priority. No. Elian looked at the 17 prisoner ships. Millions of life signs, millions of names he did not know. My brother's ship receives the nearest available cutter. No one redirects. Selketh studied him. That may kill him. Yes. You crossed half the frontier to find him. I crossed half the frontier to find all of them. Urin looked toward Elian. The human captain continued. Every ship is someone's vessel 12. The rescue cutters separated, not toward Amati, toward whichever migration vessel each could reach. The formation lost efficiency. Some ships received 4 cutters, others received 1. The vessel with the fewest life signs received Elian's own assault team. Migration Vessel 17. Urin examined the allocation. Vessel 17 contains no human population. I know. Its survivors are primarily Seneti and Tesselan. I know. Your brother is aboard 12. I am aware. Urin's black fluid accelerated. Your behavior is inconsistent with your objective. No. Elian checked his armor seals. My objective changed when I learned he was alive. Urin stared at him. That should increase his priority. It increased my responsibility not to make him the only person I see. Elian moved toward the boarding bay. Urin followed. Neth blocked the Orash officer. You are not medically cleared. I am required to open local systems. You can transmit from here. The Warden Crown will override me again. Then what changes aboard a migration ship? Urin looked toward Vessel 17. Distance. Elian understood. The Orash command structure prioritized authority by proximity. A lineage officer physically present aboard a vessel could supersede remote orders. Even an invalid lineage might create enough contradiction to delay the Warden. You are coming with me, Elian said. Neth's frills spread. He may die. So may everyone aboard 17. That is not medical reasoning. No. Urin stepped past her. It is rescue reasoning. Neth looked between them. You are both becoming intolerable. Elian secured Urin inside a boarding shell. The rescue cutter launched. Behind them, the Mercy Has Teeth remained hidden among the wreckage. Ahead, Vessel 17 drifted near Rill's southern edge. 1 Orash escort guarded it. The cutter had no weapons capable of destroying the escort. Admiral Selketh opened a local channel. My fleet can engage. Not yet, Elian said. The rescue cutters are entering final approach. Not yet. The Orash know the decoys are empty. Elian looked toward the thousands of ships still crossing the system. They know the ships contain no people. That is the same fact. No. Urin turned toward him. What distinction are you making? Elian opened the secondary decoy program. It had been concealed from the compact battle plan. Not because humanity intended to betray its allies, because the program could not be activated from the fleet. It had already been set before the empty ships launched. A mechanical clock inside every vessel waited for the same event. The dying white star disappearing behind Rill. No network would signal the moment. No commander would issue an order. Every ship carried an optical sensor aimed at the star. When the moon blocked its light, the ships would begin their second course. Selketh examined the timing. You knew the Orash might discover them. We expected it. You said the estimate was 18 minutes. That estimate concerned how long we needed them to appear alive. What happens when the moon crosses the star? Elian looked toward the rescue cutters approaching the migration group. The empty ship stopped pretending to run. The white star touched Rill's edge. Across Sable Reach, more than 3,000 surviving vessels saw the light begin to vanish. Mechanical shutters opened, springs released. Course motors ignited. The empty fleet turned. Every ship pointed toward the Orash. Chapter 4. No favorites. The Orash had expected the decoys to flee once discovered. Ships carrying frightened civilians preserved distance. Commanders protected valuable hulls. Drones responded to control signals. The empty fleet did none of those things. The ships possessed no fear, no commanders, no network, only routes. The first vessels entered the Orash formation above Rill. They did not ram directly. Most lacked the speed to damage warships. Instead, they released what rescue vessels always carried. Tow cables, emergency foam, pressure tents, lifeboat shells, reflective blankets, Thousands of kilometers of industrial line expanded through space. Orash vessels turned to avoid it. Some succeeded. Others caught cables around their rotating frames. A rescue transport called Door Still Open passed between two correction ships and released every emergency tether aboard. The ships tried to separate. The lines tightened. Their own movement pulled them together. Both collided. An empty galloon ore carrier vented powdered metal across an Orash gravity projector. The particles followed the field. Compact gunners behind Rill saw its exact shape. An old hospital barge released 600 lifeboat shells. Each shell transmitted 40 false heartbeats. Orash point defenses turned toward them. The real rescue cutters passed through the gaps. Admiral Selketh watched the formation break. "Now?" he asked. Elian's cutter approached, Vessel 17. "Now." Compact warships emerged from behind Rill. 87 ships entered the battle along separate vectors. No central attack order connected them. Each captain had received one objective: open a route away from the moon. They chose their own targets. Kalari cruisers struck enemy engines. Murath artillery vessels fired into exposed gravity fields. Galloon carriers deployed tugs instead of fighters. The tugs attached to empty ships and redirected them toward damaged Orash vessels. The battle became a storm of wreckage, cable, false lives, and independent decisions. Urin watched through the cutter's forward window. "You converted rescue equipment into a weapon." "No," Elian said. "We converted enemy assumptions into one." The Orash escort beside Vessel 17 turned toward them, its pale beam charged. The cutter could not evade in time. An empty refugee transport crossed between them. The ship was named All of Us Made It. The beam entered its empty passenger decks. The vessel opened like a burning flower. Elian's cutter passed through the debris. Urin looked back. That ship was positioned to intercept the beam. "Yes." "Who piloted it?" "No one." "Then how did it know?" "It didn't." Elian pointed toward the moon. "It was told where to be when the star disappeared." The cutter struck Vessel 17's hull. Magnetic clamps locked. Elian led 12 rescue Marines through the boarding tunnel. Urin followed inside his armored medical shell. The migration vessel's interior smelled of disinfectant, metal, and too many bodies. The first compartment contained no prisoners. Only Orash warden machines. They moved on 6 jointed limbs, black needles unfolded from their chests. Elian fired, the passage filled with white fragments. The rescue team advanced toward the nearest prisoner hold. A sealed door blocked the route, no manual wheel, no visible lock. Urin placed one hand against the frame. The door recognized his biology, then rejected it, continuity invalid. The warden crown had erased his authority. Urin pressed harder. "Open." The system repeated the rejection. Elian examined the wall. "Can we cut it?" 3 minutes. They did not have 3 minutes. Life signs beyond the door were failing. The Orash had replaced breathable atmosphere with heavy anesthetic gas. Urin looked toward the dead warden machines. One still carried a local command filament. He tore it free. Black fluid moved through the line. Urin connected the filament to the transparent channel in his own wrist. Elian grabbed him. "What are you doing?" "Restoring compatibility." "That device belongs to a machine." "Yes." "You are not a machine." Urin looked toward the sealed hold. "I am aware." He pushed the filament into the channel, his body convulsed. The door recognized the warden's signal. Then it detected Urin's invalid continuity beneath it. The system hesitated. 2 authorities, one accepted, one forbidden, contradiction. The lock opened. Gas spilled into the corridor. Rescue Marines entered with breathing masks. Inside the hold, thousands of Seneti and Tesselan prisoners lay across the floor. Some moved. Many did not. Elian opened the ship-wide channel. "This is a rescue team. Local controls are open. Anyone able to move, help the person beside you." The first Seneti survivor lifted her head. Silver vapor barely moved inside her chest chamber. "You came." "Yes." "Why?" Elian looked toward Urin. The Orash officer remained on his knees beside the door, black fluid leaking around the warden filament. "Because you were here." Across the migration group, rescue teams reached other vessels. Cutter crews cut through hulls. Prisoners attacked warden machines with maintenance tools. Local systems opened for seconds at a time. The Orash closed them again, then prisoners opened them manually. Migration Vessel 5 restored atmosphere. Vessel 9 regained partial navigation. Vessel 3 detached its restraint spine. Vessel 12 continued struggling toward the warden crown. Amati transmitted through the battle. We have reached the secondary bridge. Elian listened while guiding survivors toward the rescue cutter. Can you unlock the engines? No, the warden has physical control of the main drive. Rescue team status. An Ivara cutter attached to our lower hull. Elian allowed himself one breath. Someone had reached Amati, not him, someone, it was enough. Urin tried to stand. His rear limbs failed. Elian caught him. The warden will begin fleet termination, Urin said. What does that mean? It will overload every migration vessel simultaneously. Can it? Yes. Stop it. My authority is invalid. Then make that useful. Urin looked toward the shipwide transmitter. A new idea entered his segmented eyes. At Relay Ilion, the Orash had sent 61 ships to erase one contradictory archive. In Sable Reach, thousands of empty vessels surrounded the Warden Crown. Each possessed transmitters. Each could carry a copied signal. Urin opened a channel to the Mercy Has Teeth. Command Core. Neth answered, you are not connecting to it again. Copy my continuity pattern. Silence, Neth's frills appeared on the small display. To what destination? All empty ships. Elian understood. The Orash will think every decoy carries you. Not me. Urin's voice weakened. A contradiction. Neth examined his medical readings. The transmission may collapse your neural braid. Yes. You may lose access to your memories. Yes. You may lose more than memory. Yes. Elian looked at Urin. The Orash officer had spent his life believing value came from function. Now he offered the one function that made him useful, not because the humans required him to, because millions of prisoners needed him to. You do not have to do this, Elian said. Urin stared at him. That is why I am choosing it. The words silenced Elian. Urin connected his wrist filament to Vessel 17's transmitter. Neth activated the captured command core. The continuity braid copied. Cross Sable Reach, empty ships began transmitting Urin Vesh's biological archive. One signal became 10, 10 became 100, then thousands. The Orash targeting network reacted. Every empty ship became a potential witness. Every false life sign became a possible returning flame archive. Correction vessels abandoned the rescue cutters. Warships turned away from the migration group. The Warden Crown attempted to classify the signals. Too many. Identical continuity. Contradictory locations. Independent movement. No central source to destroy. For the first time, Urin watched Orash command become uncertain. The system cannot select priority, he whispered. Elian supported him. What happens when it cannot choose? Urin looked toward the battlefield. It corrects everything. The Warden Crown opened every weapon port. Thousands of pale beams turned toward the empty ships. The uncrewed vessels entered the line of fire. Behind them, 17 migration ships began to move. Chapter 5. The Battle of Empty Ships. The first migration vessel escaped Rill's shadow 17 minutes after the battle began. Vessel 9 had restored one engine. The drive burned unevenly, but it carried 300,000 prisoners toward the corridor opened by Admiral Selkith's fleet. 2 Galloon tugs attached to its bow. A Kalari cruiser protected its rear. Empty ships filled the space between it and the Orash. The Warden Crown tried to transmit a termination order. Thousands of false Urin Vesh signals answered. Continuity invalid, archive present, correct witness. The Orash command vessel repeated the order. The empty fleet repeated the contradiction, its targeting system divided. Some weapons fired at decoys above Rill, others fired toward the wreck belt, still others turned on vessels already burning. No two correction groups agreed on which archive was real. The human plan had not blinded the Orash. It had given them too many things to see. Elian's rescue team moved deeper into Vessel 17. They opened prisoner holds one at a time. Senate survivors restored local power. Tesselan engineers rerouted coolant through manual valves. A Murath prisoner tore an Orash restraint spine from the wall and carried it toward the engine chamber. No one waited for central direction. Urin watched them through failing eyes. They should not know how to do this. Elian fired into a warden machine at the next junction. They learned. From whom? Each other. Vessel 17 central lift opened. A crowd filled it. Dozens of species, hundreds of faces. They carried injured people on doors, panels, and pieces of flooring. A child saw Urin's white armor. She recoiled. Elian stepped between them. He is with us. The words surprised Urin. They surprised Elian too. No one argued. There was no time. They reached the secondary bridge. The controls remained linked to the Warden Crown. Every input returned the same message. Remote custody active. Urin studied the system. It cannot be disabled locally. Then disconnect the ship physically. The restraint spine carries power, navigation, and atmosphere regulation. We have local power. Partial. We have people. Urin looked toward him. Elian pointed to the prisoners entering the bridge. Ask what they can repair. The survivors spread through the control stations. A Senate engineer found manual thruster access. A Tesselan mechanic opened atmosphere bypasses. Murath laborers moved toward the restraint spine with cutting equipment. The ship began becoming local. The Orash had designed it so no single compartment could survive without central authority. The prisoners built new connections between those compartments. Cable by cable, door by door. Urin watched the process. This is the same pattern. What pattern? Elian asked. The old archive. Outside, empty ships crossed the battlefield. A hospital barge used its hull to shield Migration Vessel 4. An ore carrier released mining foam across an Orash destroyer's sensors. A refugee transport broke apart beside Vessel 11, and its passenger decks absorbed 3 beams meant for the prisoners. None carried crews. Each died exactly where someone had once decided it should. The empty fleet became a moving wall. The Orash destroyed hundreds, then hundreds more. The wall thinned. It did not close. Admiral Selketh's voice entered the bridge. 6 migration ships are moving. 4 have partial engines. 7 remain locked. Warden Crown status? Elian asked. Protected by 28 escorts. Can you reach it? Not before it transmits termination. Urin examined the countdown inside Vessel 17's controls. 3 minutes. The Warden Crown had given up trying to restore custody. It would erase the prisoners instead. Elian opened the channel to Migration Vessel 12. Amadi. His brother answered through weapons fire. We have the secondary bridge. Engine. Still locked. Rescue crew. Alive. Termination countdown. 2 minutes 50. Elian looked toward Urin. Any way to cancel globally? No. Locally. Sever the restraint spine before the order arrives. How long? The Murath prisoners examined the spine. 5 minutes, one answered. They had less than 3. Amadi spoke across the channel. We cannot cut hours in time either. Elian looked at the tactical map. The Warden Crown remained above the migration group. Its escorts formed a sphere around it. Compact ships could not penetrate. The empty fleet could, not because it was stronger, because the Orash had pulled it close. Thousands of Kopit archives had drawn nearly every enemy weapon toward the decoys. The ships now surrounded the Warden Crown. Their mechanical clocks continued counting. Each possessed a final course. The course had been included for one purpose. If the White Star reappeared after passing behind Rill, every surviving empty ship would turn toward the largest Orash command signal. Not an order, not a remote command. A final instruction written before launch. The White Star emerged from the moon's edge. Optical shutters opened across the fleet. 2,106 surviving empty ships saw the light. They identified the Warden Crown. Course motors ignited. Admiral Selketh watched the change. What are they doing? Elian looked toward the command vessel, completing the route. The empty ships converged. The Orash fired. Transports vanished. Rescue cutters broke apart. Cargo ships burned. The fleet continued because there was no one aboard to order retreat. The first impact struck the Warden Crown's escorts. Not fast enough to destroy them, heavy enough to move them. Empty ships collided with gravity frames, tow cables wrapped around rotating hulls, lifeboat shells burst across weapon ports. One decommissioned atmospheric carrier drove between the Warden Crown's outer rings and opened every cargo door. The rings caught inside its frame. The command vessel slowed. Selketh saw the opening. Compact fleet command target. 87 ships fired independently. Mass drivers struck first. Kelleri lances followed. Murath artillery crossed the corridor. The Warden Crown's outer ring broke. The termination countdown continued. 1 minute. The command vessel attempted to pull away. More empty ships struck it. The second morning reached the center of the formation. The old hospital transport carried no explosives, no weapons, only thick radiation shielding around what had once been patient wards. It placed that armor between the Warden Crown and Migration Vessel 12. The command vessel fired. The beam burned through 3 decks. The second morning remained. It struck the broken outer ring. The Warden Crown rotated, its pale core became visible. Admiral Selketh fired, the first lance missed. The second entered the core. The command vessel folded inward, the termination signal vanished. Across all 17 migration ships, the countdown stopped with 23 seconds remaining. Silence filled Vessel 17's bridge. Then the remote custody message disappeared. Local authority available. The prisoners looked toward Elian. He pointed at the controls. Take your ship. They did. Vessel 17's engines ignited, not smoothly, not together. One engine fired early. Another failed. The ship turned sideways, corrected, and began moving away from Rill. Across Sable Reach, the other migration vessels followed. Vessel 12 emerged from the wreckage with an Avara cutter attached to its lower hull. Amadi's voice entered Elian's channel. We have engines. Elian closed his eyes. Join the escape corridor. You? Vessel 17. Of course you are. What does that mean? You always choose the hardest route. No. Elian watched the survivors guiding their damaged ship. I chose the nearest one. Amadi laughed. This time the transmission remained clear. The Orash defense formation collapsed after the Warden Crown died. Some ships fought independently. Most had never been permitted to. Command signals contradicted one another. Correction vessels continued attacking empty archives that no longer mattered. Compact captains selected targets locally. Migration ships crossed the corridor one at a time. Vessel 9 first, then 4, then 12. Vessel 17 crossed last. The final empty ships remained behind. 219 still possessed engines. They turned toward the retreating Orash formation. The enemy fired at them until the compact convoy left Sable Reach. No humans watched the last vessels die. Their clocks continued. Their transmitters repeated false heartbeats into the dark. Their white broken circles remained visible until the hulls burned away. 4 hours after the battle began, Migration Group 7 Blue entered compact-controlled space. All 17 vessels survived. 3,612,944 prisoners survived with them. 191,168 did not. The Orash had expected to fight an evacuation fleet. Instead, they had fought every empty place humanity had refused to call useless. Chapter 6. What Emptiness Carried. Elian found Amadi aboard the captured migration ship 12 hours later. The brothers met inside a cargo chamber converted into a field hospital. Amadi sat on an overturned storage crate while an Avara medic sealed a burn along his ribs. He looked thinner than Elian remembered, older. His hair had gone gray above one temple. Elian stopped in the doorway. For 9 months he had imagined this moment. He had planned words, questions, apologies. None survived. Amadi looked up. You look terrible. Elian crossed the room and pulled him into an embrace. Amadi made a sound of pain. Elian released him immediately. Sorry. I didn't say stop. They held each other again. Around them, medics moved between injured prisoners. Families searched lists written on cargo panels. Names passed through the chamber. Some answered. Others did not. Amadi finally stepped back. I heard you assigned teams to all 17 ships. Yes. You did not redirect anyone to 12. No. Even after you heard me. Elian studied his brother. No. Amadi nodded. Good. The answer struck Elian harder than anger would have. I thought you might hate me for it. I had 200,000 people aboard my ship. Amadi looked around the hospital. There were millions on the others. I still wanted to come for you. I know. That does not make it easier. No. Amadi placed one hand against Elian's shoulder brace. It makes you my brother. Elian lowered his head. The search was over, not because he had chosen Amadi above everyone else. Because he had refused to abandon everyone else in order to reach him. The empty fleet became famous after Sable Reach. Compact historians called it the largest uncrewed formation ever assembled. Human engineers objected. The ships had not been drones. They had carried no artificial pilots, no remote operators, no central intelligence. They had followed courses written into springs, shutters, mechanical clocks, and optical sensors. More importantly, they had carried histories. The second morning had once evacuated Vaskir. All of us made it had carried miners between shattered habitat sectors during the bombardment of Kared's Rest. Door still open had transported Enhalori children from a failing district to Avara before the floating cities entered the Crown's storm. Thousands of vessels carried names chosen by people who remembered surviving. The ships had been empty of bodies. They had not been empty of meaning. Compact planners attempted to calculate the battle's cost. The ships represented millions of tons of usable metal. Thousands of functioning engines, atmospheric systems, medical compartments, cargo capacity. Humanity had spent them all. The Compact asked whether the rescue justified the loss. The survivors of Migration Group 7 Blue answered before Earth could. Every species contributed vessels to rebuild the fleet, not warships, rescue ships. The first new transport launched 6 months later. Its name was There Was Room. Urnvesh survived the battle. The continuity transmission damaged part of his neural braid. He lost several command lineages, names vanished, dates blurred. Entire sections of Orash doctrine disappeared from his memory. Dr. Nethmar described the damage as permanent. Urin did not ask whether it could be repaired. He sat aboard the Mercy Has Teeth and watched captured migration vessels move through the recovery corridor. The door to his medical room remained unlocked. 2 guards remained outside. Both carried magnetic clamps. Admiral Selkith Mar visited him after the final prisoner count. The Kalari admiral stood beside the window with his flight membranes folded. "You knew the Orash would attack the empty ships," Selkith said. "Yes." "You knew they would classify your Kopit archive as a priority." "Yes." "You allowed the humans to reproduce it." "Yes." Selkith looked toward him. "Why?" Urin watched migration vessel 17 pass. Seneti and Tesselan markings had been painted over the Orash custody symbols. A white broken circle covered the largest section of hull. "I possessed information they required." "That is utility." Urin's black fluid moved slowly. "Yes." Selkith waited. Urin looked toward the unlocked door. "They stated I possessed value before the information." "Do you believe them?" "No." The answer came quickly, then Urin considered it. "I believe they believe it." Selkith's membranes shifted. "That is a beginning." Urin watched the rescued vessels. The empty ships had value too. "They did." "Even after their crews left." "Yes." "Even when they could no longer complete their original function." "Yes." Urin became silent. The Orash had taught him that function created value. Humans had taken ships whose original functions had ended and given them new purpose. They had done the same with damaged stations, broken cities, defeated soldiers, enemy prisoners. Perhaps value did not survive because function remained. Perhaps function returned because someone had decided value remained. The thought had no place inside Orash continuity. That made Urin keep it. The rescue codes recovered at Sable Reach opened 5 additional migration systems. Compact task groups liberated 2 before the Orash changed their security doctrine. The enemy stopped trusting centralized custody controls. They divided prisoner fleets, removed command cores, installed physical destruction charges. For the first time, the Orash began adopting the same decentralized methods they feared in humanity. It made them harder to fight. It also made them less Orash. Urin recognized the change. The returning flame had begun contaminating the enemy, not through propaganda, through necessity. The Orash could not fight humans without becoming less predictable themselves. Every adaptation weakened the command continuity that had held their civilization together for thousands of years. Humanity was not defeating the Orash only by destroying ships. It was forcing them to choose. Choice was the one weapon their empire had never permitted its own people to carry. 9 days after Sable Reach, Earth recalled every Terran fleet. The order reached Compact Command without warning. Human destroyers left frontier patrols. Rescue carriers abandoned forward depots. Terran engineers packed field stations and withdrew toward Sol. The Galactic Compact panicked. Some governments called it betrayal. Others believed Earth had decided the coalition could no longer be saved. Admiral Selkith received the recall aboard the Mercy Has Teeth. He found Urin studying the movement map. Human fleets were converging on one system. Sol, the Orash were moving too. Command carriers left occupied sectors. Correction fleets abandoned migration routes. Warships turned away from compact worlds. Every major enemy formation began moving toward Earth. Selkith's flight membranes tightened. Humanity is retreating. No, Urin said. Every Terran fleet is withdrawing. Yes, they are abandoning the frontier. No. Selketh looked toward him. Urin opened the oldest surviving memory inside his continuity braid. A dark system appeared. 6 ancient human rescue ships pulled back from dozens of contested worlds. The Orash followed. They believed the humans were fleeing. Instead, the humans had drawn the first correction fleets toward a prepared star. The archive ended before revealing what happened there, but Urin remembered the title assigned to the event, Origin Defense. He looked toward the map of Sol. Earth is not retreating. Across the compact, human ships continued home. Empty docks remained behind them. Broken supply lines, unprotected worlds. The Coalition saw abandonment. The Orash saw the returning flame moving toward its source. Only Urin understood that both were looking at the same trap. At Sable Reach, humanity had sent empty ships forward. Now it was emptying the frontier, and every Orash fleet was following. If you enjoyed this story, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What was your favorite moment? What would you have done in their place? Leave a comment below. I read everyone. If you'd like to help the channel grow, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next story from the Human Archive. Thanks for listening.